So welcome to my first video, my first hopefully of many videos on things that really interest me and on I hope things that might interest you as well. This first video is going to be about murder and mystery and mayhem, which really for some reason just interests me so much. I have watched hundreds and hundreds of videos about different people who do very bad things, apparently. I don't know why it interests me, but apparently there are many people in the world that are very interested in this subject, because there are so many channels out there on YouTube and different kinds of media that deal with this kind of issue. I also will be having like vocabulary and true false and little quiz at the end. This is for my English language learners that you maybe want to see what you actually comprehended, understood from the whole video itself. This is basically a video for students of English that are interested in doing something extra with their time, maybe to help them out with their listening skills. Again, this is like my first video, so I'm a little nervous, and please just be a little patient with me. Okay, so as I said, this video is about this subject, and other subsequent videos might be on something different. Okay, so I will see depending on my mood. So let's get started. Okay, my first video, my first subject, I should say, is about the Zodiac killer, I should say. Okay, let me just turn this on for you. Okay, so let's start with the Zodiac. Okay, so the Zodiac killer, as he was known, took credit for several murders in the San Francisco Bay Area in the late 1960s. Okay, he was never caught. He was a self-proclaimed Zodiac killer, okay, which means that he himself named himself as the Zodiac killer. Okay, now if you see, I have words in black italics here. Okay, these black italics are words that if you move on into my slides, they will be explained more. I didn't want to spend too much time on explaining vocabulary, but if you need the vocabulary explained, they are later on in the slide. So if you want, you can stop it here and move on into the slides so you can see. Okay. So the Zodiac killer was directly linked to at least 5 murders in Northern California in 1968 and 1969. And he may have been responsible for more. In fact, he himself had said, in letters, of course, that he was responsible for about 34 killings. Okay. And he taunted the police. He made threats through letters that he sent to the area newspapers between 1969 and 1974. And then there was complete ceasing of communication. Okay, no communication whatsoever. Nobody knows why he stopped communicating. There are many theories. One of the theories is that he died. Okay, another theory is that maybe he was mentally, just had a full-blown breakdown and was hospitalized, or was started to get medicated and maybe he got better. Nobody knows. So today, okay, this case is still open because nobody was ever arrested for the crimes. There were some people that were considered as possible suspects, but it never amounted to anything, okay? So the mystery surrounding the murders has been the subject of numerous books and movies, including director David Fincher's acclaimed 2007 feature, The Zodiac. Okay, now the thing with the movies is that, of course, movies have to be dramatized a little bit, so they're even more interesting. So some of the things that are in the movie are not exactly factually true. Some points, some are, of course. Okay, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. Okay, let's move on. So on August 1st, 1969, the San Francisco Examiner, the San Francisco Chronicle, and Vallejo Times Herald each received an identical handwritten letter in an envelope without a return address. The beginning said, "Dear editor, I'm the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." The letters contained details from the Zodiac killer's murders that only the killer could have known. The killer went on to threaten further attacks if the letters weren't printed on the front page of the papers. So obviously he wanted his murders to be known. Maybe he wanted to go down in infamy, you know, he wanted to be famous. And he said that if you don't put this on the front page of the newspaper, there will be more killings. And because the newspapers didn't want to have that responsibility, they didn't want to be responsible for more and more murders and have that on their back, so they did just that. Okay. So who was the Zodiac? Sorry. Let's move on. Okay, so here we have the symbol. Each letter was enclosed with this symbol, okay, consisting of, as you see, a cross with a circle through it, okay? And this would become the Zodiac's killer symbol. The letters were also accompanied by one part of a 3-part cipher that he claimed contained his identity. So one newspaper got one part, another newspaper got another part, and the third newspaper got a third part. And nobody could decipher the cipher. A cipher is basically just like a letter of a hidden message, okay? They couldn't figure it out. And he was taunting the police, saying, if you can figure out my cipher, then you will find who I am. Okay. So in October 2021, so obviously you see this case is really not closed at all. A team of 40 former law enforcement investigators called the Case Breakers claimed to have identified the Zodiac killer. However, the FBI stated that the case was still open. So I'm not sure exactly what that means. I'm not sure if that means that they know who he is, but the FBI needs more, more information. They need more evidence. I'm not sure. Or if they're waiting to see when the time is right for them to say, hey, we know who he is. Okay. So let's take a look at the victims and the attacks. So the first confirmed incident or happening took place on the night of December 20th, 1968, when 17-year-old David Faraday and his 16-year-old girlfriend, Betty Lou Jensen, were shot to death near their car at a remote spot on Lake Herman Road on the outskirts of Vallejo, California. Police were baffled, unable to determine the motive for the crime or a suspect. So you have to remember, this is 1968. It was not murders, and were not as prevalent as they are today. This was very, very weird. People didn't have as many guns as they do today. There wasn't as much crime as there is today. And there was no motive. He didn't do anything to these kids. Okay. This Lake Herman Road is considered, or this remote spot is considered kind of like a lover's lane kind of situation. So we know what happens there. So it was just these two kids in the car. They wanted to be alone. And this Zodiac just went and just shot them. There was no other motive. He didn't take any of their money. He didn't want to enslave them in any way. He just shot them, kind of like he was just hunting almost. Okay, so this really was confusing for the police. Okay, and here we have the picture of David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. Now, David Faraday actually got a pretty good look at the Zodiac, because David Faraday didn't die right away. He died in the hospital later. So he gave a pretty good composite sketch of what the Zodiac looked like. Okay, so let's move on to the second incident. Early in the morning of July 5th, 1969, Darlene Farron, age 22, and her boyfriend Mike Magoo, age 19, also were sitting in a remote Vallejo location when this guy approaches with a flashlight, and this figure shot multiple times. Okay, killed, unfortunately, Darlene, and seriously wounding Magoo. Now Magoo, I think it's Magoo, he actually lived it. And I'm sorry, it wasn't Faraday. Faraday didn't give the description. Magoo gave the description. So sorry, I have to correct myself. Okay, Magoo gave the description of what the Zodiac looked like. Okay, a very good description, which people are still using today. The police is still using his description. Okay, so let's go, and here we go. Okay, this is Mike. Okay, and unfortunately Darlene that didn't make it. So let's take a look at the third incident. On the evening of September 27, 1969, he struck again, approaching young couple Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell as they relaxed on an isolated part of the shore of Lake Berryessa in Napa County. He was wearing a hooded hat, a hoodie, and a shirt bearing a circle cross symbol. Okay. So he tied them up before brutally stabbing them, scrawling a message for police on their car door, and leaving the scene. Again, all he was doing was shooting, or in this case, stabbing. Okay, no motive, didn't do anything else to these people. He then called the Napa Police Department to claim responsibility. Shepard and Hartnell were both in critical condition, but alive when emergency services arrived. Cecilia Shepard, died of her wounds shortly thereafter. So, and there she is. Okay, so 2 weeks after that, the Zodiac claimed another life. This time it was 29-year-old taxi driver Paul Stein in San Francisco's Presidio Heights neighborhood. As the murder did not seem to fit the Zodiac's pattern, it was initially deemed a robbery until the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming for the crime. Okay. Now here, the San Francisco Police Department really screwed this up, because apparently this whole scene was seen by a young girl, and she saw the whole thing from far away, I think from her apartment, and she calls the police and she says, this and this and this happened. Okay, there's a guy, he's wearing thick glasses, he has short brown hair, blah blah blah. She's giving the whole description, and fine. So as this person with the same description is walking down the park, a police car stops and says, hey, have you seen anything strange happening around here? Have you seen any guy like, and he said, oh yeah, I saw a guy just down there. He had a gun And he was like flailing it around. I think you guys better go there. So they said thanks, and they left. And it turns out that it was probably him. It was probably him. And they just, I don't know what, it was just total failure of the San Francisco Police Department with that. And in fact, in a later letter that the Zodiac had sent to the police, he said, you could have got me that day. You could have got me that day because it was him. Okay, so that was a major failure. And here we have Paul Stine. So at least 5 other murders have been tentatively linked to the Zodiac killer, including the 1963 shooting of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards near Santa Barbara, California, and the 1966 stabbing death of college student Sherry Lowe Gates in Riverside, California. And here he is. Okay. Here's the wanted poster with descriptions from witnesses who had seen a man leaving the scene of Paul Stine's 1969 murder. Police were able to create and circulate a composite sketch of the killer. So he was of heavy build. Okay, he was stocky. He was 5'8", about between 35 and 45 years old. Okay, brown hair and thick glasses. So they missed out. Okay. Okay, so in this next part here, you will see vocabulary words. You can take the time and stop this at will. So maybe you can go back and reread it by yourself. Now, I want to see your listening skills here. Okay, we're going to be watching a short news report, and there are 3 questions for you. So, what was the threat of the Zodiac killer? What was near Lover's Lane? And how did the police officer describe the Zodiac? Okay, so let's watch.
Search goes on in San Francisco for the man known as the Zodiac Killer. The elements involved today included psychiatrists, astrologists, and police guards for school buses. Terry Drinkwater reports.
School children are nice targets. I shall wipe out a school bus some morning, shoot out the tires, and then pick off the kiddies as they come bounding out. That was the threat of the Zodiac Killer. Now, every day, police cars follow the buses which would be likely targets. Officers armed with shotguns take the threat seriously. The psychotic killer has already murdered 5. 1 at a Lover's Lane near a lake just north of San Francisco. 3 others in nearby Vallejo. The latest, a taxi driver in San Francisco. The Zodiac Killer seems to crave publicity. He sent letters and cryptograms to newspapers and the police, recounting his crimes, threatening more murders, and making Bay Area residents very edgy.
In his violent movements, or rather the violent periods that he has been in, he's an absolutely ruthless, completely merciless killer. He calmly goes about his business of, in one case, telephoning the police, and another tearing a strip off the shirt of the dead body of the immediately killed victim. He doesn't get great excitement over it. He just he thinks killing is just killing. So somebody like that is going to be a very serious problem for us.
From witnesses, there are 2 generally similar composite drawings. He's around 30, reddish hair, 5 feet 10, crew cut, but not much more than that is known. Today, a meeting of lawmen and psychiatrists from all over the Bay Area. They are weighing advice from astrologers on the theory that perhaps the killer, who calls himself the Zodiac, may be planning his next victim based on astrological signs. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, San Francisco.
Okay, so let's take a look at that. Okay, so what was the threat of the Zodiac killer? The threat of the Zodiac killer was that he was going to target school buses. Okay. He said, actually, it's not in the video, but he said that it will be a great thrill for him to shoot at the right tire of the bus and see the little kiddos go down one by one. Okay. Just, just a crazy, crazy person. Okay. Just total psychotic behavior. Okay. So what was near Lover's Lane? Near Lover's Lane was a lake. Okay. And how did the police officer describe the Zodiac? The police officer described the Zodiac as ruthless and merciless. Okay. So he was just killing out of sport. And in fact, in one of the letters, he had said that since humans are the most dangerous animal of all, it is very thrilling to actually kill them. Okay, so he really didn't think of people as anything, just expendable. He had absolutely no remorse whatsoever to think that these people are people and that they're young kids and they have their whole lives to get, and there was absolutely no motive. He just did it almost like it was a sport. Okay, almost like it was a sport. So let's take a look here. Okay, we have some true false. Okay, the Zodiac killer wanted his letters published on the front page of newspapers. True or false? The answer is true. He did. True or false? The Zodiac killer wore glasses. The Zodiac killer did wear glasses. This is true. Thick glasses, actually. College student Mary Jo Bates was shot by Zodiac. This is false. She was stabbed by the Zodiac. All of the events happened in California, USA. This is true. All of them happened in the state of California. A lot of things happened in California. The police thought the taxi driver was killed after a robbery. Okay, this is true. They thought that it was a robbery gone wrong at first. The Zodiac killer usually targeted couples. This is also true. He usually did target couples, which is why when the taxi driver was killed, they didn't think it would be the Zodiac because it was just one guy by himself. Okay. The Zodiac killer has been caught. No, of course not. Of course, that was an easy one. That was an easy one. The Zodiac killer's first murder was in 1943. False. He was killing in the 1960s. Okay, so I thank you for being with me in this first video. Again, I probably made 100 mistakes, okay? But I'm glad that you're with me, and each time I will, of course, try to be better and better. It was a really nice process for me. I really enjoyed doing all of the research and trying to get this whole thing together. So I hope that I will have at least one video come out every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks. So I thank you once again, and I hope to see you next time. Please, any messages, anything that you'd like to say, I'd be happy to hear it. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.